Boys for Wednesday, July 17th. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. Let's dive right into the Instagram news. Have you ever created a reel and you were disappointed that you can only add one audio track to that reel? No, personally, I have never experienced that feeling. One audio track is plenty for me. However, the @creators account posted that starting today, you can now add up to 20 audio tracks to a single reel and visually align audio with elements like text, stickers, and clips while editing in the app. They explain that with the flexibility to pair the right tracks with the right clips at the right time, you can express your creativity the way that feels right for you and for your audience. They explain what it looks like at the bottom of when you're creating a reel. When you're editing the part of a sound you want to include, you can say add to mix. When you add multiple tracks, you'll also be creating your own unique audio mix that will be attributed to you. So as you unlock new ways to express yourself with audio, your fans can save and reuse your audio mixes. I am not 100% sure why someone would want to do this instead of using an audio editing app and then bring that audio in, but if licensing is an issue, then it does make sense that you could do this all within the Instagram app. I will link to this @creators post so you can check it out for yourself. And if you want to use this feature, make sure you're updated to the latest version of the Instagram app. And in other Instagram news, reverse engineering hacker Alessandro Paluzzi has uncovered that the Instagram team is working on something called a super like. This would be a way of showing someone that you really enjoyed their content, but you can only send one super like every 24 hours. That's an interesting concept. I will keep you posted as this comes further into development. And since we're talking about things that Alessandro Paluzzi has uncovered, he has also found that the Threads team is internally testing a use media option. Let's talk about how this would work. So if you're in the Threads app and you want to reshare something someone else has posted on Threads, you have two options. You can repost it, which just automatically reshares it, or you can quote that post, which allows you to add your 2 cents. This additional option, use media, would enable users to provide their own take on a video or image while still acknowledging the original source. I like this concept. Being able to add your 2 cents in a variety of ways on any platform is always going to be a good idea. And the last piece of Instagram news that we're going to talk about today has to do with teens and mental health. Now, this has long been a problem associated with Instagram, and you might remember that in 2021, I covered at length the whistleblower Frances Haugen, who showed that the Facebook company's own research repeatedly found that Instagram can harm teenagers, especially teenage girls. There was evidence that the team inside Facebook and Instagram knew about the damage that these platforms cause to teenagers and did nothing about it. However, now Instagram is taking a slightly different tactic. They are opening a small pilot program that would allow a handful of academic researchers to access Instagram data for up to about 6 months in order to study the app's effects on the well-being of teens and young adults. The company is announcing that it is seeking proposals that focus on certain research areas, investigating whether social media use is associated with different effects in different regions of the world, for example, and that plans to accept up to 7 submissions. Once approved, researchers will be able to access relevant data from study participants, how many accounts they follow, how much they use Instagram, and when. Meta has said that certain types of data will be off limits, such as user demographic information and the content of media published by users. It's unclear whether internal information related to ads that are served to users or Instagram's algorithm, for example, might be provided, although I completely doubt it. This program is being run in partnership with the Center for Open Science, which is a nonprofit. Researchers, not Meta, will be responsible for recruiting the teens and will be required to get parental consent and take privacy precautions. I will link to the article from The Atlantic with all the details about this. Definitely check it out, especially if you have teenagers. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to ask CEO of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, if he was a creator and he was going to build a following in order to sell a product, what would he do? Stick around. Oh, hey, welcome back. If you didn't know, the CEO of Meta is named Mark Zuckerberg, and he is very into meat. He has an idea that he wants to only eat meat that he personally has grown or hunted. That's just his personal preference when it comes to meat. And I guess if you have that much money, you can make whatever decisions you want about meat. However, he was asked if he was going to be selling this meat for profit and he wanted to build a business around it. How would he use social media in order to do that? Here's the clip of him talking about it.
And I don't think I've ever heard you answer this. I consider you a very prolific creator, right? You're designing your own clothes, you're making music. I've heard about Mark's Meats. Like I've heard about all the hobbies. And one question that a lot of creators get asked, I get asked a lot, is like, if I had to start from scratch building a brand online or building a brand around a hobby, how do I do it? I'm curious for you to answer this. So like, let's say you were just Mark the guitarist or Mark the founder of Mark's Meats, and you got to know everything you know about world building, fandom, psychology, but we took away all the resources. How would you think about like that challenge, like going about trying to build kind of a meaningful brand online as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think we're almost sort of reflexively trained to think about this stuff these days. I mean, I'm not, for the Mark's Meats example, I mean, I'm not trying to create a business around it, but I sort of reflexively think about it in terms of kind of what's the story behind this, right? We're not just trying to, raise some cattle. We're trying to raise really high quality cattle. And, because we're doing it in Hawaii, where we're feeding the cattle this unique blend of macadamia nut meal, and we're brewing beer and feeding them beer, and we're vertically integrating, and we're growing the macadamia trees, and we're growing the beer and brewing the beer. And I find that that's part of what's fun about it, right? Is everyone kind of does stuff in a unique way. And I think the kind of celebration and expression of the story about the uniqueness of what you're doing is part of what is cool. So I don't know. I mean, maybe one day when I retire, Mark's Meats will be a commercial operation. But in the for now, it's it's like just trying to do this awesome thing. And I think part of what makes it awesome is having kind of a narrative and a story around it. And social media and all these other tools online help people tell that story. But I think it's also trained us in some way to think about things in terms of what is the narrative and what's the story around what you're doing. So I don't know. It's an interesting question.
Did you kind of get the feeling that Mark Zuckerberg doesn't know how to build a following in 2024? Yeah, I kind of got that feeling too. That is going to do it for today's episode. As always, thank you for listening. If you have a moment, please leave a review of the show. You can find the link to do that in the show notes. Be sure to come back next time for more social media news, strategy, and other things you need to know.
Let me tell you a couple things that you should know about me. A product manager but do not have a bachelor's degree, but actually that's factually a fraction of me. Another fraction's posting content irregular and irrationally. Still probably won't get a job at the Gram. They forgot, they don't know, or don't care who I am. That's why you never see me at the parties and events. My lack of followers must make me irrelevant. Don't have a course, a book to sell to make a bag of grand. Not a social media marketer, don't represent any brands. Plain to see, don't have an agency, but I got a lot of spam. Just putting in my work without the glitz and glam. Won't catch me eating fish unless it's shrimp or clam. No six pack, no risk that there's a gym card in my hand. Don't have a full-time job, but I got a lot of plans. Stay plotting, dropping knowledge on TikTok and Instagram.